Let's talk about Brock Purdy and the San Francisco 49ers. Right now, this team is 3-3, and they're fighting an uphill battle in the NFC. They have a lot of problems going on with their offensive line, special teams, and defense as well. But number one, I want to start off with the offense in general. When you look at the offense for the San Francisco 49ers, they have Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle. Jordan Mason has played very well, even though he's dealing with an injury right now. I'm recording this after the game that they won against the Seattle Seahawks. But when I look at this 49ers team, they miss Christian McCaffrey in the worst way possible. Jordan Mason is a very good running back. And I will say this, you do have to be talented to play in the system with Kyle Shanahan and with Mike Shanahan. But for whatever reason, this is one of the best running back systems in NFL history, even dating back to when his dad was a head coach for the Denver Broncos. And even with the then Washington Redskins, they've always had a good rushing attack. And I'm talking about the Shanahans here. But Christian McCaffrey just hits different. He's that receiving running back. He is ultimately the best talent in the NFL at that position. Jordan Mason is not a bad player at all. As a pure runner, he is very good. But you see it in the red zone. Part of the reason why the red zone offense has not been good this season with the 49ers, yes, half of it is the play calling by Kyle Shanahan, but they did not have these problems when Christian McCaffrey was 100% healthy. They did not have these problems when they made the trade to go get Christian McCaffrey a couple of years ago from the Carolina Panthers. Christian McCaffrey can catch the football at the backfield. He's a legitimate wide receiver type of threat coming out of the backfield, and you can put him inside the slot. And he is so good in between the tackles, and it has hurt this offense in the red zone. And when you look at the 49ers team right now, they're banged up defensively. They can't just go out there and take three every single drive. That is what did them in against the Los Angeles Rams and against the Arizona Cardinals as well. Their special teams needs to be better, but when I look at this 49ers team, they have the talent, but they're missing Christian McCaffrey in the worst way possible. And when you look at it from this standpoint as well, it's more than just missing Christian McCaffrey in the red zone, because they're still going to be a dangerous threat in the NFL because of Brock Purdy and the weapons that they have. It's the offensive line. This offensive line has not been particularly good in the last two seasons. And part of the reason why they lost that Super Bowl against the Kansas City Chiefs is not because of Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy played phenomenal in that game, in my opinion. The offensive line was no good. He's running for his life. They lost that Minnesota Vikings game by 6 points, but he got sacked 6 times in that game. And Brock Purdy, majority of the time, except for the game against the Seattle Seahawks on Thursday night, and that's a banged up Seattle Seahawks defense, he has been running for his life. You can say the New York Jets game, they went out there, they took care of business. They were still in his face. Brock Purdy is a top quarterback in the NFL. Despite having a bad offensive line and despite Brandon Ayuk dropping a lot of footballs early on in this season, Brock Purdy has proven that he is a true franchise quarterback in the NFL. So the offensive line has to play better. I know that a lot of people look at Trent Williams and they say, hey, they have him, they're going to be fine. Besides Trent Williams, the rest of the offensive line has not been consistently good, and they have neglected the offensive line over the last couple of years, and it's starting to hurt this team right now. They are 3-3, and I'm not saying that the sky is falling, because right now they sit atop their division. But to lose 2 division games against the Arizona Cardinals and the Los Angeles Rams, that put them into a must-win situation against the Seattle Seahawks. It was a very good win. They needed that win. But the best thing with the 49ers moving forward on the offensive end is to go out there, take care of Brock Purdy inside the pocket, and for Kyle Shanahan to do the best that he can in the red zone with those play calls without Christian McCaffrey, because it's not a guarantee when Christian McCaffrey comes back into the lineup that he's going to be that same running back that he was a couple of years ago or even a year ago, because he's dealing with Achilles tendonitis in both legs. Not only just that, he has missed a lot of practice over the last couple of months. He hasn't been able to suit up dealing with these injuries, and that's a serious thing. And Christian McCaffrey is a guy that you want to wait on in the NFL playoffs. Kyle Shanahan should have not ran him into the ground last season. You have other talented running backs on this roster. Give them the football in the regular season moving forward in those goal line situations, and especially in the red zone where you're 10 to 15 yards out, then you use Christian McCaffrey. You're giving Christian McCaffrey 20 to 25 touches a game. It's going to beat him up. And the Carolina Panthers already ran him into the ground as well. Let's not forget that this is a running back that had over 1,000 receiving yards and 1,000 rushing yards a couple of years ago. You don't get those type of numbers by just touching the football 15 to 20 times a game. They ran Christian McCaffrey in the ground as well. And you look at the time that he was playing with Stanford, they ran him a lot. So I'm not saying that Christian McCaffrey's an injury-prone player moving forward and that the San Francisco 49ers need to move off of him. No, he's dealt with a lot of injuries in the past, but when he's 100%, easily one of the best players in the NFL. But when I look at this offense, they still have great players. Deebo Samuel has dealt with an injury this season, but when he's been in the lineup, he's been a godsend this season because he can play inside the slot. He can go back there in the backfield as well, and you can run the football with him. One of the most versatile wide receivers in the NFL. Brandon Ayuk has come out slow this season, but I expected this because he held out because he wanted more money. And he wanted a contract extension. The 49ers should have got down to that deal sooner, and Brandon Ayuk shouldn't have held out. We saw him drop major passes against the New York Jets. We've seen him drop major passes in other games as well. He has to be more consistent moving forward. He had an amazing game against the Arizona Cardinals, but he's going to have to be better moving forward. You have Juwan Jennings as well. Majority of his numbers have come against the Los Angeles Rams. But these guys are starting to get things together. They're starting to gel together. Their best and most consistent receiving threat this season has been George Kittle, who in my opinion is the best complete tight end in the NFL in terms of blocking and being in the receiving game as well. I like George Kittle a lot, and you can feature him the most in that receiving room right now. But Brandon Ayuk, I think that he will get better as the season progresses, and the same with Deebo Samuel as well. They just have to get healthier on the offensive end and take better care of Brock Purdy with the offensive line and from the play calls of Kyle Shanahan as well. When I look at the defense for the San Francisco 49ers, their defense has not been as dominant since DeMeco Ryans left to become the head coach with the Houston Texans. And with Robert Saleh getting fired a couple of days ago by the New York Jets, if Nick Sorensen cannot figure this thing out this season, they're going to bring back Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh was a great defensive coordinator with the San Francisco 49ers for many years. That's why the New York Jets hired him to become the head coach. And I do want to give Nick Sorensen a fair chance. They brought in Steve Wilks last season. It just didn't work out. On paper, their defense was not as bad, but on the film, their defense was not the same. They could not control the line of scrimmage. They were not getting to the passer until they made the trade to go out there and get Chase Young and match him up with Nick Bosa. And when I look at the defense right now, they're dealing with so many injuries. Travarius Ward right now is day-to-day dealing with a knee injury. He's their top cornerback, especially in that secondary room. He was a Pro Bowl cornerback, last season underneath Steve Wilks. And Steve Wilks brought a different philosophy. He's more so of a secondary coach than he is a front seven coach. We know what Kyle Shanahan loves to have, to put pressure on the opposing quarterback and force him to face the secondary. And you have to go out there and you have to scheme up those plays. Steve Wilks was not able to do that. Now this season, you have Leonard Floyd, you have Nick Bosa. Leonard Floyd is a very good football player. He's coming over from the Buffalo Bills. He was amazing with the Buffalo Bills. He was very good with the Los Angeles Rams as well. And playing alongside Nick Bosa, he's continuing that pattern. Nick Bosa is one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. What I do have a problem with is their defensive tackle room. Javon Hargrave is going to miss the rest of the season. He got injured a couple weeks ago. Their rushing defense has not been good this season. Yes, they played good against the Seattle Seahawks. The Seattle Seahawks right now dealing with a lot of offensive line injuries, and they're not a particularly run-heavy team. We saw what did them in against the Arizona Cardinals. James Conner is bulldozing them over and over again. They cannot get that pressure, and they cannot get enough stops in the middle of their defense right now. And hopefully guys like Malik Collins can step up long term, because if they can't, that's going to be a major problem moving forward for the San Francisco 49ers. I also look at it from this standpoint as well. When you look at a guy like Jordan Elliott, not Malik Collins is healthy. When you look at a guy like Jordan Elliott, who is dealing with an injury right now, you hope that he can come in and he can step up and just stop the run. They don't have to go out there and rush the passer, because you have that with Leonard Floyd. You have that also with Nick Bosa as well. And when you look at the linebacking core, Fred Warner is one of the best linebackers in the NFL. But they missed Dre Greenlaw. That was one of the best linebacking duos in the NFL. Dre Greenlaw is a very good football player. He's still recovering from that torn Achilles that he suffered in the Super Bowl when he was sprinting onto the field. And we saw how devastated Fred Warner and those guys were when he went out. He is one of the heartbeats of the defense. Right now, you're depending on a veteran and Devondre Campbell to come in and make major plays for you. He has not been particularly good this season. He has struggled in this system with the 49ers. Hopefully he can play better moving forward, but he has not been the same linebackers that he once was with the Green Bay Packers. And part of the reason why the Packers moved on from him, the production dipped, and also he dealt with injuries as well. Hopefully they don't have to deal with this only for a couple more months, and then you can have Drake Greenlaw come back in at the halfway point of the season. But they are really missing his presence in the linebacking room. And when you look at the wins this season for the San Francisco 49ers, they took care of business against the New York Jets. I do not believe that the New York Jets are a good football team, but they did put up 32 points on one of the tougher defenses in the NFL. They went out there against the Minnesota Vikings. They lost that game. The offensive line was a huge reason to why they lost that game, because Brock Purdy got sacked 6 times. Against the Los Angeles Rams, bad special teams play, bad defense as a whole. They lost that game 27-24. They defeated the New England Patriots 30-13. The New England Patriots are one of the worst teams in the NFL, so you expect for them to go out there and take care of business against that team. When you look at what happened against the Arizona Cardinals, they lost that game by a point, 24-23. Bad special teams play. They could not stop the run, and they could not protect Brock Purdy in the back half of that game at all. The last interception was a tip pick because the pressure came on the side of Brock Purdy. The offensive line has to play better in those key moments. And against the Seattle Seahawks, they really should have blew this team out. But early in the game, you're constantly going out there. You're taking 3. Look at what happened. Laviska Shenault comes in. He gets a kick return. The next thing that you know, the Seattle Seahawks are back into the game. Kyle Shanahan has to find a way to punch the ball in the red zone without Christian McCaffrey until he comes back. And that comes down from this play calling as well. And I still think that Kyle Shanahan is one of the best head coaches in the NFL. But back to the defense dealing with these injuries, man. It's very scary. And I do feel bad for Nick Sorensen because Charvarius Ward, like I mentioned, he's out right now dealing with an injury. Hufanga, he's dealing with an injury as well. He's back on IR. This is a man that missed a good portion of last season dealing with a knee injury. He is a very good safety. Before he got injured last season, he was regarded as one of the best safeties in the NFL. They're going to need him if they want to make a playoff push. And when you look at the rest of the secondary, they are young, but they did a great job against DK Metcalf and Geno Smith. When you look at guys like Lenore, who is a very good cornerback in his own right, and Renardo Green, who I do believe has potential to be the best cornerback in this room in the next couple of years, you feel safe with these guys. They're just very young right now. And with Nick Bosa and Leonard Floyd getting to the quarterback, they do not have to hold up as much. And you also have Jair Brown as well, who is a very good young player at the safety position. They have a lot of problems right now, but it's due to injuries. I think as they get healthier and as the season progresses, they will be in a better situation. But you have to look at it from this fact. They have not been blown out this season. They're losing a lot of close football games. If they just tighten up on the red zone offense, they will be a better football team moving forward. But as long as they have Brock Purdy and those weapons on the outside with George Kittle and Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, they can score with the best of them. But it comes down to the offensive line play, and it comes down to how healthy can this team get within the next couple of weeks. They have a tough schedule remaining because you look at the rest of the games. They face the Kansas City Chiefs next week. Then after the Kansas City Chiefs, they do go against the Dallas Cowboys. They have owned the Dallas Cowboys the last couple of years. The Dallas Cowboys cannot beat them. We'll see what happens in that situation. Then you also look at the game after that. They face the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Then they face the Seattle Seahawks. Then they go against the Green Bay Packers. Those are really must-win games for the San Francisco 49ers because now you're 3-3. And you already lost those 2 division games against the Los Angeles Rams and the Arizona Cardinals. They have to go down the stretch, be more buttoned up, stop the penalties, and have better special teams and offensive line play. But I do believe in Brock Purdy. In my opinion, he's the best quarterback in this division. And Kyle Shanahan by far is the best head coach in this division. And majority of the time, when you have the best head coach and you have the best quarterback, that's pretty much all you need. I'm not saying that's always the case, but when you look at this all-star cast that they still have, I think the San Francisco 49ers will be okay. But let me know in the comment section below, how do you guys feel about the San Francisco 49ers and Brock Purdy this season? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless.